Ladies and gentlemen, while I was away I had learned that the once dominant anime distributor ADV had announced it was selling its remaining assets into separate companies, thus in a sense bringing to an end an era of a company that once was the brightest star in the American anime galaxy, even though this YouTuber, who never liked 95% of this company's titles to begin with, is glad to witness it go away. For those of you in the community who didn't know or care, ADVision, commonly referred to as ADV, was an American international multimedia entertainment company headquartered in Houston, Texas, active in home video production and distribution, broadcast television, theatrical film distribution, merchandising, original productions, magazine and comic book publishing. It was the largest anime company in North America before its demise. It was founded in 1992 by John Ledford and Matt Greenfield. John Ledford, a man who started a Japanese video game and video console import business in 1990, received an introduction to anime from one of his friends. The friend introduced my neighbor Totoro to Ledford. In 1992, Ledford and Matthew Greenfield launched ADV together and decided to begin licensing anime. Toho reluctantly licensed Devil Hunter Yoko to ADV, making the title ADV's first, even though Shozo Watanabe, the general manager of the Los Angeles office of Toho, expressed concern that ADV would not be able to handle the distribution of the film. Toho was unable to find another distributor, so it selected ADV. While the company grew slowly, the company also dabbled into the adult hentai market, by launching a division called Soft Cell Pictures. Adv Films was the original core of the company. Adv Films was the home video publication arm of ADVision based in Houston, Texas, specializing in publishing anime and tokusatsu videos and other live-action material. In 1996, Adv Films opened its UK division and diversified into the realm of live-action television series, such as Andromeda and Japanese films. However, the company's most notable achievement and biggest success was perhaps their most popular property, Gainax's post-apocalyptic anime series Neon Genesis Evangelion, originally released by ADV in the US in 1997 and re-released several times since. The first title to be licensed and released to video was Devil Hunter Yoko. They were the first North American anime licensor to use all digital video mastering and transfer, specifically D2 digital videotape, and soon began acquiring an extensive library of titles. Initially, titles were released to video with the original Japanese language track and English subtitles added. A few years later, they began dubbing releases to English using their own voice actors. ADV started out using a nearby production studio as their recording facility, but after a few years they were able to open up their own production and recording facility in Houston, as well as a second studio in Austin, Texas. The studios were named Industrial Smoke and Mirrors and Monster Island, respectively. Monster Island closed down permanently in early 2005 and ISM became known simply as ADV Studios. In more recent years, ADV had also produced dubs of live-action Japanese films, as well as doing some work with the video game industry. Since then, the company had grown immensely in size and diversified with several subsidiary companies, handling an array of properties and original content. The company maintained offices in North America, Europe, and Asia. It served the United States, Japan, Canada, United Kingdom, Italy, and Germany. Over the years, ADV became one of the biggest anime distributor advertisers, posting ads in the major American and Canadian anime magazines, including the long-gone Animerica and Anime Insider. ADV often became noted in polls by sites like Anime News Network as the favorite distributor of anime in the United States. ADV voice actors including Monica Ryle, Hilary Haig, Lucy Christian, Tiffany Grant and Chris Patton, and producers Matt Greenfield and David Williams, became stars on the anime convention circuit thanks to the publisher's aggressive marketing efforts. Consider this. In the early 2000s, a period that increasingly looks like the best days for anime in the US, Funimation, ADV, Pioneer/Geneon, Viz Media, Central Park Media and Bandai were all jostling for market share. Many of the factors that contributed to ADV Films' downfall were brought about by bad moves and fanboyish stubbornness, including a lot of emphasis on the latter. In fact, its 15-year-old fanboy dominus time eats its massive expansion plans. Many of the company's attempts to turn itself into a multimedia conglomerate were ill-conceived and ill-fated. Take, for instance, New Type USA, based on Kadokawa Publishing's famous Japanese magazine of the same name. New Type USA included both translated Japanese content and original US material. Content included anime, manga, music, game, toy and model reviews, director interviews, artist profiles, and regular columns by industry experts, tastemakers, and deep cover insiders. New Type USA also included bonus content, such as posters, postcards, a centerfold spread, serialized manga, and a DVD insert. Though it was published by ADV, the magazine still featured content and promotional material from properties distributed by competing publishers. The first New Type USA issue was published in November 2002 and ended publication in 2008. After the February 2008 issue was published, it was soon replaced with another magazine, Pick. However, that magazine ceased after 4 issues, probably because the loyal readers of New Type were angry that the New Type format was being replaced with a more general interest magazine. It also expanded the empire to television with the Anime Network, launched in Philadelphia with Comcast Cable. Then there was the manga division, which began in 2003 and included titles like Gunslinger Girl, but by mid-decade it scaled back its ambitious plans. And then there were the license acquisitions that didn't happen. In August 2007, a notice was sent to retailers stating that Adv Films would be taking over the distribution, marketing, and sales of Jenny-On properties in the U.S. as of October 1. In preparation, Jenny-On USA laid off most of its sales division. However, in September the distribution deal was cancelled. Dentsu confirmed that the distribution deal was cancelled through a press release on September the 21st, 2007, with no reasons given except that Jenny-On and ADV were unable to reach a mutual agreement. The biggest blow, though, may have come last July, when a 2-year partnership with Sojitz Corporation broke off and 32 series that formerly belonged to ADV made their way to cross-state competitor Funimation. After that, ADV was largely a shell of its former self, reduced to re-releasing series from its glory days of the late 1990s and early 2000s. ADV were, after all, pioneers. Having gone so high and fallen so far, it's easy to forget that these guys were among the first people to get Japanese cartoons out there on the US market in the first place. As part of the generation that rented out the entire blockbuster anime section, companies like ADV, Manga, and Central Park Media, even if I didn't like 90% of the stuff they did, gave me one of my first few, not the first, stepping stones into full-fledged anime fandom. They were a big deal, so instead of cackling about it with our hands up at our mouths, let's pour one out for the ADV days past. That overly ambitious, kinda shady, but never boring fanboy outfit that gave us cheesy trailers, quotably awful promos, sleazy box copy, the running joke of the Evangelion live-action movie, among other things. When companies like Bandai Funny, Pioneer at the time, announced 5-8 new license acquisitions during the biggest convention in Anime Expo, you get ADV with 20 new licenses. The worst part was 16 of those 20 would be no-name titles that got low to unstellar ratings in Japan. Just a roster comprised of 60 to 70% shows of FAP and fanservice of both the male and female variety, targeted to mama's boys and daddy's girl otaku. Not a good business model for a company that wanted to rival Disney. The ego of the founders were beyond anyone's as well. I mean, building a library of mostly third-tier anime titles, just to say that they're the biggest animation company after Disney, starting subsidiaries and projects at their own whim. ADV Manga, ADV Pro, ADV Toys, seriously. Same thing happened to ADV Manga. They licensed a bunch of no-name titles that no one bought, which eventually got discontinued, raising $100 million plus for the EVA movie. ADV acted as if they were a huge corporation. Well, enter reality. Besides, no company that sells a cadre of titles dominated by FAP and fanservice was going to rival anything, let alone Disney, to be continued in Part 2.